Wow, 4 years? That's quite a long time to have spent on this stupid little website. By myself, in solitude, all on my lonesome. It'd be nice to have some collabs once in a while, wouldn't it? So, for my 4th anniversary, I'd like to share with you all a list of various YouTubers I would quite like to collab with at some point in the future. Take it away! First up is a list of YouTubers who I feel it would be the easiest to collab with. I like to call this little group the Brits. The Brits include Trilby, aka Mr. TARDIS, one of the very first film reviewers I got into, and someone who I hold a deep respect for, even on the occasions where his opinion doesn't mesh with my opinion. Hell, I have his book. Film Brain, one of my favourite former Channel Awesome producers, well, third favourite. Someone whose humour I generally enjoy, despite his occasionally whiny voice, which he has been trying to fix in his later videos, and I have a feeling it will be pretty fun to work with him. Plus, there's apparently some sort of clause that he has to collaborate with every British YouTuber ever, so, hey, I must get my chance at some point, right? And speaking of former Channel Awesome producers, there's also Dominic Noble, the host of the series Lost in Adaptation. Now, as someone who's an avid reader myself, a series that reviews film adaptations of various literature is the perfect place for me to do a collab for. Plus, the Dom's posh British accent and general snarky sense of humour is something I also really enjoy and would love to work with. There's also one of my favourite YouTube film reviewers out there, the unusual suspect, goddamn PewDiePie, who is one of the most funniest YouTube reviewers I've ever seen. He also has the best editing I've ever seen in a YouTube video, period. Just look at those moments where he inserts himself into the movie clips via green screen. Not to mention his sense of humour is wacky and fun and just generally hilarious altogether. I would definitely love to work with this guy. And of course, you can't have nutty and wacky humour in editing without this guy, Cad Icarus, one of the most insanest reviewers I've ever seen, who single-handedly taught me everything I know about gaming that didn't come from the angry video game nerd, and also got me interested in getting a PlayStation through his obsession with Crash Bandicoot leaking out to me. Even if I put that off for 2 years, not just because Spider-Man and the Star Wars game that isn't a shooter were promised to come out, but not for the Switch. And now for the YouTubers who do not live in the United Kingdom, but who I would still really like to work with regardless. First of all, there's a YouTuber who I've been a fan of for years, Fighting Leaf and Husky the Wolf. One of the first series that got me into watching YouTube movie reviews, and definitely the first one I ever saw of a story arc, which made me want to do my own story arc and reviews, which you can watch over on Studio Generica, by the way. And so on, I've also been wanting to collab with for a really long time. I just have a feeling it'll be fun, especially if I show up when he's reviewing a British-made movie. That'd be pretty funny. And hey, how about one of Fighting Leaf's biggest influences, the Nostalgia Critic? Oh, yeah. Never mind, let's just ignore him. Hey, how about someone with no drama throughout their career, like James Rolfe, better known as the Angry Video Game Nerd. Someone whose profane, vulgar hilarity always manages to put a smile on my face. Plus, his series has taught me a lot about video gaming history, something I found pretty interesting to learn about since, obviously, I wasn't alive for any of that time. I definitely enjoy working with the Angry Video Game Nerd. Just as long as I don't wind up in Board James Season 4. I don't really want to become a human operation board. Or I could tackle my other favourite former Channel Awesome producers like Linkara, comic book reviewer and colossal nerd, whose videos have taught me a lot about comic books throughout the years, and always provides a pretty fun and entertaining series to watch, especially his engaging storylines. And there's also my second favourite former Channel Awesome producer, Todd in the Shadows, who reviews music. Granted, I know nothing about music, but his videos are always pretty fun, and I definitely enjoy being a part of it. But if only he actually did collabs more. Like, ever. I also wouldn't mind working with some jerk of a camera in the future. Except I'd never be able to make it to Disneyland to shoot on location. There's also Eye of Soul, a YouTuber who I discovered a couple years ago, who I have found her videos especially interesting to watch, even when I don't necessarily agree with a few of her opinions. For one thing, she definitely has one of the most engaging, interesting, and emotional review storylines I've ever seen. I just have a feeling it would be pretty fun to work with her, especially at those points where her storyline actually winds up having some parallels to stuff I have planned for the future of Love It or Hate It. So yeah, a collab could definitely be interesting on that grounds. And of course, one YouTube personality I definitely like to work with is Clay Claymore. And of course, given that cartoons are one of my biggest interests, I could go to plenty of people in the cartoon community for collaborations, such as my personal favourite, the mysterious Mr. Enter, someone who I greatly respect due to all the growth he's gone through over the years, and just someone I've always felt had an opinion worth listening to, even on those occasions where he got controversy for things people didn't like for whatever reason. There's also Phantom Strider, that happy-go-lucky Australian top 10 lister, who I just feel would be so pleasant to work with. Or Pie Guy Rules, one of the most respected people in the cartoon community because of his analytical, all no nonsense, not getting angry type approach, which I really respect as a fellow YouTuber. I even think it would be fun to work with some of the more lesser known folk like Crimson Mayhem, Alpha J Show, or Cosmodor, Shadow Streak. You know, those guys who tend to spend time on less drama and just talking about shows in general. And finally, one reviewer I'd like to work with especially is Wingsong5555, Wingsong 5555, Wingsong 5555. What? Did you think I was going to do a collab list and not suggest the person who I've had really long and really enjoyable conversations with? Someone who's wound up making a fair few suggestions for my own creative projects, and also one of the only other Z Media fans I've ever actually met on the internet. Not to mention, her review show is focused on reviewing other internet shows. That could make for some very interesting collaborations. Besides, even if we don't collaborate for reviewing the web, there's still other possibilities we could explore. You may be wondering why I've only really been talking about reviewers and stuff on this video. Why haven't I brought up my other passionate interest, Legos? Well, how exactly do you collaborate with Lego channels? The only way I can think of would be something like voice acting, and I'm not even sure how I'd be able to pull off collaborating in that manner. But hey, if I was to collaborate with other brick filmers, here's who I'd like to collab with. First of all, there's JTH Studios, who's another long-time subscriber of mine who I've had a fair few conversations with. He makes pretty good stuff. If I wouldn't mind having a small part in any project he might have in the future. Then there's Noah Productions NP, another complete loon who also managed to get me into Crash Bandicoot. His videos are so insane and right up my wheelhouse, I'd love to be a part of them in any voice acting role. Heck, if he ever did Bionicle Ignition 3, I wouldn't mind voicing a character in that. After all, Bionicle's 2008 storyline was the first storyline I remember getting really invested in. And while these guys don't really do collabs, I would love to have a voice role in a Chronicles of Jala video. I mean, that's probably the very first web series I ever became a fan of. And it probably influenced my sense of humour a fair bit too. I'd love to be a part of this series. And in regards to non-LEGO stuff, I wouldn't mind having a voice acting role in a Z Media Productions audio drama. It would probably just be a bit part, but I still find it pretty fun to work with these guys, Again, I've been a fan of their content for a long time, and it would just be really nice to be a part of their stuff. You know, provided they actually continue making their stuff. Come on, I'm getting really antsy here. When are you going to finish Lifetimes of Dr. Menace? And that's the list of YouTubers I'd like to collab with. Who knows, maybe some of these things could actually happen in the future. But that seems unlikely. Regardless, goodbye my fans and friends, and I will see you in the future.